Good evening and welcome to Sustainability Live. I'm Mark Westwind, your co-host for this evening. Thank you all for joining us. Tonight, along with me will be Tyler Snortum Phelps, our technical director, as a co-host, and also Gotham Sadhasan, our producer for the show. Tonight, we're going to be interviewing the Leadership in Sustainability Award winners for 2020. It's exciting to meet these folks. We met them briefly at the gala recently, but tonight we'll get a chance to interact with them, ask them more questions, and really find out more about what their work and passions are. Tonight we have Shoshana Wechsler. She's an activist in Contra, Costa County. I'll introduce her a little bit more in a minute. We also have Marco Lemus from Urban Tilth and Ken Hayworth with Aquamenities. And joining us later will be Manuel Alonso, the winner of the 2020 Lifetime Achievement Award. Thank you, Manuel, for all of your work. So to begin, I'd like to invite Shoshana to join us and tell us more about what she's working on and so forth. Shoshana's a member of the Contra Costa County Sustainability Commission, and that's a big deal. It's a select group of people who advise the Board of Supervisors on issues of sustainability. She's been involved in a number of organizations, including 350 Bay Area, 350 Contra Costa, the Contra Costa Clean Energy Alliance. She's a founding member of the Sunflower Alliance and also has been very active in the anti-oil drilling campaign in the Brentwood area. So that said, Shoshana, what happened this week at the Board of Supervisors? I hear that something exciting happened.
Something very exciting happened, and I really I'm delighted to report that Contra Costa County has passed a climate emergency resolution. And if you would indulge me, I'd like to share what I think are some of the real highlights of this resolution.
Yeah, please do.
Obviously, moving forward, what matters is how we enact it in real policy, right? But wow. So exciting. It was 2 years of work on the parts of many, many people and two supervisors, county supervisors in particular.
And who were they?
They were John Joya,
of course,
and Federal Glover.
Cool.
And the Sustainability Commission, which consists of citizens from all over the county who are appointed by their respective supervisors, got the first draft, made suggestions that went ultimately in a lot of massaging, a lot of sausage making. Jody London, our sustainability coordinator, really shaped the whole thing after several months of going back and forth with the sustainability committee. The two supervisors weighed in, and finally it was the public has weighed in on several rounds. And it's not a perfect document, but it's really, really great. And I'm personally very excited about it. And I wanted to share with you what I kind of would describe as the snapshot of the county that is in the whereas section before we even get to the action items. And what's important here is that, first of all, it says that, whereas the state of California has recognized the need for careful study and planning to decrease demand and supply of fossil fuels while managing the decline of fossil fuel production in a way that is economically responsible and sustainable. And that in itself is easy to kind of gloss over, but it's a big deal. It's a big statement.
Yes.
Because it says that, and this is important for those of us who do sustainability work, it's not just about improving lifestyle choices and trying to reduce the demand for fossil fuels, driving better vehicles, EVs, driving less, switching over to gas appliances, all of those things, but that we also have to start dropping the amount that we extract from the ground and the amount that we refine in the state. This is supply side talk. This is what I and Sunflower Alliance have been really addressing our efforts to over the last decade. So this is what I come out of. And I think this is very exciting to see the statement in here. And it goes on to also tell us that climate change impacts are going to be most acutely felt by children, by seniors, by low-income folks, by communities of color, and residents with unstable economic or housing situations. So again, we have kind of a clue about where our policy needs to go. We're recognizing here fossil fuels as the primary contributor to rapidly changing climate. And finally, that 7 of the 10 largest industrial pollution sources in the San Francisco Bay Area are here in Contra Costa County. So this may not seem like a big deal to some, but you know, this is a pretty honest statement and important. Really, it's important that it be included here. So what about the actions that the county is committed to? Very exciting. There's some stuff about that really improves kind of the crosstalk within county bureaucracy and makes implementation of the climate action plan far more central than it has been up to this point. And we are also now committing to developing a policy that would require new construction to be fully electric.
And that includes induction stoves and heating and so forth.
Right.
Good.
Very
Excellent.
exciting stuff. And finally, and I'll close with this, and this is particularly thrilling to me, we are actually using the language of just transition. Mm-hmm. We are acknowledging that with a special focus on highly impacted environmental justice communities, of which we have many along the industrial corridor, along the northern waterfront in the county, we need to anticipate and plan for an economy that is no longer dependent on fossil fuels. We need to plan for a just transition away from this fossil fuel dependent economy and consider how the county's recovery from COVID can incorporate the county's climate goals. So this is also hugely important. It's hugely complicated, but it's a first step. And this acknowledgement, I think, is really huge. So,
you know, I think this warrants a much longer discussion because there's a lot in there. And I heard today on the radio that the governor has ordered the discontinuation of the sale of gas-powered vehicles by 2035, I believe. Right. And second is, I'm looking out here at the Shell refinery that's not booming. It's shut down, which is huge. You know, I mean, it's been there for over 100 years, I think. Right. And these changes, I mean, that's a right now immediate change impacting on the workers, as you said, from a just transition point of view. So where do we stand with the Martinez refinery going down? Are you familiar with efforts to find those high-paying jobs? I'm not sure where they are.
So this is an area where we need to start scrambling. This is a hardball question. I will do my best to swing at it, but you've gone
and in 25 words or less, because we can pursue this. It's a big deal topic.
This is a couple of hours. Unfortunately, you know, when Marathon announced in April that it was going to permanently idle, which is nice talk for shutting down because of what they call demand destruction.
Right, which is exactly what the declaration calls for. Okay.
They also announced that they would be laying off 700 workers.
Right.
And that's still pending. That's going to happen in October. It's also going to happen at their refinery in Gallup, New Mexico.
Wow.
And, you know, this has pretty serious impacts on communities that are dependent on this revenue, not, you know, communities at large, the workers themselves. And I can't, Yeah, so I think there's an important lesson here that we need a managed decline and not an unmanaged decline and not a free fall.
But that was a market-driven decision, not a government mandated shutdown. So, you know,
Correct.
as a private sector industry, they have the quote right to just say, nope, closing it down, just like stores go out of business. And
Right.
yet the impact of this is by far higher than a store.
Right,
So who's
right, but exercising that right to kind of protect their own bottom line also causes tremendous economic chaos and
Oh,
hardship on
absolutely.
workers and communities. And this is
Definitely.
something that we need to scramble to get in front of. And I want to mention also Phillips 66 in Rodeo, which has announced something very interesting. It's announced that it wants to get out because of the same market pressures out of petroleum refining and into the refining of something which they call, and this might be a good greenwashing term that they're deploying, renewable diesel. And they are talking about radically increasing the number of, when they apply to the county for a permit to make this conversion to renewable diesel, this is going to involve a quadrupling of marine traffic to their wharf.
Wow.
It's going to, and we're just at this point making back of the envelope calculations. They're talking about using soy oil, and that sounds really wonderful, but wait a minute. The scale they're talking about, because they want to be the largest biofuel manufacturer in the world, we're a little concerned about the scale. The fact that it looks like they could be actually eating up 20% of US soy production and could possibly be triggering deforestation in Brazil.
Right, versus electrification instead of using a liquid fuel. I know there's issues with electricity storage. So what's the current state of that terminal that was proposed for Rodeo, the marine terminal, the shipping terminal? Has that been approved or rejected?
Right. So that original proposal, which was, we thought, really tar sands related, it has been absorbed into the new proposal for this renewable diesel conversion. And I think the lesson here for activists and for people who really want to, you know, watch very carefully what's going on and impact what's going on, this is a big learning curve and a rapid learning curve for everybody. And I invite everyone to jump on in and try to make sense of it, because we want to welcome, obviously, any project that's going to reduce greenhouse gases and clean up toxic pollution in impacted refinery communities. There's no question about that. So on the one hand, hurrah. On the other hand, wait a minute.
Right.
And, you know, is this perhaps a bridge fuel? This is maybe a bridge we don't want to get stuck on.
So along those lines, given, you know, the shutdown of Shell or Marathon and what you just discussed about Rodeo, two big refineries in Contra Costa, why is there any discussion of oil drilling in Brentwood if we're decreasing our use and production of fossil fuels? I would just think that the market would be saying, sending a message to the drillers saying, you know, that's probably not a worthwhile investment. So give me a little background on that, or give us, please.
That's a good question. What would motivate the driller?
Well, basically what's happening out there, because I'm not staying on top of the Brentwood oil drilling controversy, but I know it's a big deal and it's right in our backyard. It's here in Contra Costa. So where do we stand with that? And again, this is potentially a topic for a whole nother show. So just kind of give us a quick overview.
So the drilling that's being proposed, the exploratory drilling that's being proposed just outside of the Brentwood city limits and within really several hundred feet of residences in Brentwood, is the second such proposal that has landed before Contra Costa planners since last summer. And unfortunately, the first application for a drilling site on the western flank of Antioch was approved.
Oh, wow.
And
When was
nobody
that?
knew about it. And certainly it escaped the attention of people who tried to watchdog these things. So we now have I wonder if you can see it. It's on my bookshelf here.
Oh, we have it. Oh, geez. Where? That's outside of Antioch?
Yep.
Wow.
And naked flaring, gas flaring, ouch.
Wow.
So this is terrible. I mean, it is in place. And all of a sudden, a year later, there's yet another proposal by the same outfit, Sunset Exploration. The county apparently felt that it had no choice but to approve that permit because there had been drilling there 30 years ago. So there was
precedent. Yeah. Okay.
And under the existing general plan, we actually encourage oil and gas production.
Oh, that's something that needs to be changed.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's never discussed. And honestly, I came across this Measure C, this conservation element, when I was reading this this baggy document here. Here it is. Here's the application permit for the Antioch site that's up and running. We don't want to see this happen again right outside of Brentwood. And yeah.
Well, so let me ask you this, and then I want to kind of bring it back around to the commission. In terms of the climate emergency declaration, what were and who were the sources of resistance? In other words, there are templates for this declaration that have been signed in numerous cities, numerous counties, and I don't mean this completely, but why not just rubber stamp one of those and say, we declare, and there's a template for it, and go forward. Where were the issues? And obviously there's the refineries involved and everything else, but give us like a minute or two on that whole scene.
The objections were raised by Supervisor Candace Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say that actually I had some sympathy with her. I mean, first of all, it's brave to raise objections that a more climate-centric group would not find reasonable. So I respect that. And in some ways I was baffled, and in some ways I felt she was actually pointing at weaknesses and pointing at the difficulties of the transition we're in right now. She said three things right off the bat. She objected because she didn't see the urgency. She felt that COVID was an area of major concern, and that's where that's where we should take urgent action, and we can't be urgent across the board. And I think what was surprising to many people was that she somehow could not connect the dots between COVID and actual toxic pollution that impacts those very communities that are getting hardest hit by COVID, and those are Black and brown communities.
Right.
And that's it's really unfortunate that it takes a plague to bring home this lesson. We should have been really paying attention all along and understanding that whole communities of people are vulnerable and have been suffering. So that didn't go over very well with people who participated in the Board of Supervisors hearing on Tuesday. But she also mentioned that, she didn't understand why we would need a just transition. We're dependent on the refineries, and damn it, they're clean. That didn't go over too well either. And then she was a little bit squeamish about electrification. And, she did point out something I think that we're really trying to contend with, which is that our battery technology isn't quite there yet. It's still expensive. People can't really afford to do battery backups, even if they do have solar. It's not, universally available. And I would say that even for many privileged people that the technology is still financially out of reach. And certainly in more disadvantaged communities, it's not possible. So, you know, she was actually saying we're better off during all of these PG&E shutoffs with gas appliances.
Well, okay, so
in the short run, perhaps.
In the short, yeah, well, right, exactly. I mean, there is a transition that has to go on, but obviously, energy efficiency is a big deal. I mean, I cut my energy use by, I don't know, 80% by going induction on my cooking, right, and using more efficient light bulbs and so forth. It's amazing. You know, just. I mean, it's kind of a cliche at this point, but just switching out your incandescent bulbs or even those CFLs, getting down to LEDs can save a lot. We've got to move on a little bit here, but you know, I really appreciate your work. You deserve the award. Round of applause. Let me open it up to everybody else here. Do you have any questions for Shoshana? And then we'll wrap and go on to Marco from Urban Tilth.
Well, Mark, we did have one in the chat from the Casey's. Okay. And I think it's a good question, Shoshana. You are unbelievably knowledgeable and dedicated about these issues, and some folks get a little overwhelmed when they think, oh my goodness, how could I possibly ever be at that level? And the way they worded their question was simply, what can concerned citizens do to combat climate change? And I think it would be cool if you had a simple answer from your perspective, which is kind of the policy and political side of things. We talk a lot about behavior change at Sustainable Contra Costa, and so we do really need to hear from the other side and the folks that feel like working with legislation and even direct action and even civil disobedience, if it comes to that, is extremely effective as well in other ways. So do you have a few words about what the average person can do to feel like they're making an impact?
Besides voting, we all have to vote.
We all have to vote. I would say that, honestly, we need to change the way we live from the bottom up. I just want to say that grassroots work is so important. We need to be mindful of what we consume, how much we consume. We need to be very, you know, I mean, unfortunately, we can't go on like this, and we can't just swap out renewables for fossil fuels. That's not going to do it. And these are scary times. They're revolutionary times, but we can do so much better, and we can really recreate the system that we live in. And I've been thinking about, you know, I was going to tell a story about how I got into this work, and it was because—
Go for it.
Well, I'll be really brief, but it was a climate emergency. It was the explosion of Chevron in 2012.
Oh, right.
And that's when I realized I had to work in my own backyard. I had been doing kind of statewide fracking work and other stuff. And, you know, that was a huge wake-up call for some of us who weren't already living on the front line in Richmond. I live a little bit of a, 4-mile distance away, but 9,000 people went to the hospital. 18 workers had to outrun a fireball. And Urban Tilth had to rip out its fields because its vegetables were coated with toxic dust. And no more sacrifice zones. I think we just, all of us, and I think that the work you do in sustainability is so hugely important because we need to be mindful of everything that we put on our backs, that we put in our mouths, how we treat each other, who's getting sacrificed to support other people's comfortable lifestyles. It's not acceptable. And, naivete is not acceptable. So I think the first thing is just try to be as aware as possible. And as far as these issues, Sunflower Alliance really does its best on a weekly basis to kind of curate a nice list of events that people can plug into every week. And there has been kind of an emphasis on fossil fuel resistance, but also clean energy stuff. But, we really look for those our own actions or those of other groups that have the most leverage. And so I invite you to subscribe to our weekly announcements and get involved. You know, a little bit goes a long way. And if we all pitch in, the load is lighter. But,
and we will have contact info for Sunflower Alliance at the end of the program, so folks can
that was not a simple answer. I apologize.
That's okay. It was good.
That's okay. And like I said, you know, this really does open up opportunities for follow-up session. And these are important topics, and your message is very clear and very, very important for this time. You know, it's called a climate emergency declaration for a reason. It's kind of no longer climate action or, you know, climate change. It's a climate emergency, a climate crisis. And crisis, you know, has to send the message to people that there's an urgency here. And we all have to do our part. And that includes our leadership. And unfortunately, the election on November 3rd is so dramatically important. So everybody vote, you know, and encourage your folks in non-blue states to vote blue. The 350 Bay Area Action has a new campaign called Go Green, Vote Blue. So if you want to join a phone bank and help them, you know, marshal the voters in other places, that would be great. Thank you again, Shoshana. Congratulations, well deserved. Big round of applause from everybody. All right, super.
Yeah.
Cool, thanks. So now I'd like to move on to another winner, Urban Tilth. Urban Tilth is a very, very successful program working with the community in the Richmond area. This is their second sustainability award. And tonight we have a representative from Urban Tilth, Marco Lemus. And so Marco, tell us, first of all, what your role at Urban Tilth is.
Yeah, so I'm the communications associate. I help with outreach and engagement, making sure the community knows about our programs and our services, like the farm stand. More recently, we've opened up three different days where we have a farm stand that gives out free food to the community. And those are usually placed in areas where the need is highest. So yeah, I just try to make sure our work doesn't go unheard and trying to make sure that as many people can benefit from our programs and just try to get as much investment into our services as we can.
Well, folks that are watching both live and on YouTube, there's a very good profile of Urban Tilth on our website at sustainablecoco.org. So tying in what Shoshana and I were talking about earlier, these are difficult times. Not only do we have a pandemic to deal with, hitting the marginalized communities hard, but we've also got a heat wave. We've got a heat wave coming up this coming week, 106, 107, whatever. And also then the smoke that's been not only covering our skies, but I've scraped off literally thickness worth of ash from everything in my yard. And so from the point of view of raising food in the Richmond area, how are things going?
Yeah, well, things are going actually pretty well. We've gotten a lot of individual donations, more than we've ever had. A lot more people are seeing the work that we do and want to see how they can either donate or get involved, trying to volunteer. And we're just trying to work as hard as possible to get our production numbers up, because what we get in our, so for those who don't know, we have CSA boxes that at first it was a paid membership, but now with help of a USDA grant and other grants, we were able to start the free box program that gives out 190, that doesn't just give out, but we deliver them to 190 residents, fruits and vegetables. So what we can't grow, we get from local farms, mostly in Brentwood. And yeah, right now, at the start of the pandemic, before the pandemic, we had the plan to grow 25 crop rows in the span, and we thought that would take about 1 to 2 years, but we had to bring everybody from our community gardens and our school gardens since they had to shut down. onto our main farm in North Richmond. And because we had so much personnel on our farm, we were able to do it in less than 2 months. So
wow.
That was 25 new crop rows, and we're starting to build in them, or starting to plant in them. So that's, hopefully we can be self-reliant eventually and be able to grow everything we distribute.
Cool. And so your gardens, your urban farm is not mechanized, obviously. You're doing raised beds, I'm assuming, right? Entirely raised beds using do you do the French intensive biodynamic method, or are you more on the permaculture side? Do you do double digging, or, what is there a particular gardening philosophy that you guys use?
Yeah, we don't really use like tractors or anything like that. It's all
good.
Just by hand. Everything's by hand. The beds that we build is with the help of community members and our own staff. And yeah, I can't really speak too in depth about the, but yeah, we definitely use permaculture, and I don't know what double digging and all that is.
Good. Well, okay. I mean, that comes from a previous cycle of gardening style. Permaculture is the current generally followed practice. Another question: have you, as an organization, gotten involved in or considered gleaning from people's backyard trees? I know that we did this years ago here. I know the food bank doesn't allow their staff or volunteers to climb ladders, but I'm wondering what your position is in terms of going into the suburban areas and harvesting excess fruit from people's fruit trees.
That sounds like a pretty good idea, but I'm not the person to ask about that.
Okay. Okay.
I'm pretty sure there's probably some regulations against that.
No regulation. It's mainly just making sure that the crews are safe and that they're protected with workers' comp and so forth. So I just thought I'd ask. So tell us some success stories about the folks that are involved in the programs, because I know you not only provide food, but you also provide training.
Yeah. So a lot of the we've been able to hire a lot more employees to meet the demand, because our CSA membership expanded from 80 members to 250. So we had to triple that once COVID hit. A lot of people were asking, like, they don't want to go to the grocery store and they want to just have their foods delivered. And so yeah, we definitely had to hire more people. And unfortunately, we had to cancel our summer apprenticeship program, which is a program that in the summer that brings 20 young people from Richmond residents to learn how to grow in urban agriculture. But we are starting up educational programs for young kids in October. We can only have a max of 6 people on our farm, so we're trying to be very careful about how we can, still educate young people, but also make sure their families are safe. So that's been a struggle recently, but we're trying to fight through it. And a lot of the people who we're hiring, they're all people of color. Well, not all, but a vast majority is people of color and people from Richmond, who lived in Richmond, grew up here all their lives, and all young people. Like, I think the oldest person we have is 30 on our crew. So that's something that's very unique about Urban Tilth that I don't see anywhere else.
One of the things I'm impressed with is that, Urban Tilth not only is a production-oriented organization and training, but it's also very well focused on building community, which is fundamental in the Richmond area. Tell us a little bit about how you're involved in building community.
Yeah, so I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that a lot of the people who we're serving, we identify with. Mm-hmm. So we know where the need is, and we know that the people who will benefit are people who are undocumented like us, or formerly incarcerated, or like our free box program tried to target populations who are most impacted by COVID, like elders and people living in public housing. I had to go and canvass this area of public housing, Nystrom Village, and it was a really interesting experience because it's like an area that a lot of people try to avoid, but I felt like it was and not just me, but Doria really pushed me, our executive director really pushed me to make sure that that need was made, or that need was met. So I just canvassed, and a lot of people were really happy. They felt so like seen in a way, and I felt like a lot of people are kind of scared to engage with people in there, even though they do need a lot of the services that not just that we're providing, but the city is. So it felt really good to hear them say oh yeah, this is such a great program. This is gonna help us. Some of them just immediately said yes. I didn't give them the whole pitch. Once they heard free boxes of fruit and vegetables, they were yes.
Yes,
we'll take it.
Yeah, exactly.
And Marco, I've got that video that you shared. If whenever you want me to show it, you just let me know.
Okay. Yeah, we can show it right now if you want.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I'm going to share my screen, and then I have to do one little setting here in order to have the sound be good. There we go. Share computer sound. Let's see how we do here.
My name is Isabella Zizi. I come from the Northern Cheyenne, Arikara, and Muskogee Creek tribes. I've been working with Urban Tilth for about 4 months now, and I am one of the CSA coordinating managers. Urban Tilth as a whole, Urban Tilth was founded around 2005 and has really been doing community work, grassroots work locally, and it's really encouraging youth and people of color to learn these kinds of living ways of healthy eating and healthy living, and directly reaching out to the younger generation here in Richmond, San Pablo area, for them to not have to think that they have to depend on local corner stores or packaged foods, that they too are able to grow these healthy foods and also live that healthy lifestyle, and also let that grow in their family and in their different circles. Right now we are here at the North Richmond Farm site, which is roughly 3 acres, and this is where we wash and pack for the CSA program, and we also have a really awesome chicken coop that was just built for us, as well as multiple rows of crops of the different produce that we grow here. The work that I do with CSA is we have a team of, I'd say roughly 10 of our workers here at Urban Tilth, where we help provide fresh produce of vegetables and greens for our members who have signed up for a weekly box or bi-weekly box, whether it's produce that we grow ourselves or produce that we receive from other farms within a 50-mile radius. And along with that, we also provide foods for family who are low income or have been impacted by COVID-19 recently. And so overall, within a whole week, we provide at least up to 400 boxes of produce for families, whether they're single families, families are 2 or 3 or more. And for us to be able to provide such produce, organic produce to them in these kind of living situations, it's really beneficial. And it's also a pretty positive, it's a positive feeling that I receive myself, and also like my other coworkers too, that we're able to do great work through these hard times.
Very
Oh, that was very good. Thank you for sharing that with us. I noticed that with the ending shot pulling back, it appears that there's a lot of open land in the Richmond area. I don't know whether it's toxic land, or available land, or land that's planned for development or something like that. What's the situation with available land in the Richmond area? Could you expand quite a bit? Could there be thriving, significantly bigger farms in that area?
Yeah, that'd be a dream of ours, is to just take every single unused space in Richmond and just transform it into a garden that the community can just come and pick and not have to worry about. Because that's our goal, is to make sure that people not only eat healthy, but have access to affordable, healthy foods. Because Richmond has a lot of food deserts and a lot of areas where it's just liquor stores and convenience stores, but it's not healthy stores. People have to travel to El Cerrito to get Trader Joe's or Berkeley. So it's really inaccessible. Like, you got to get transportation. But yeah, I think that'd be like a beautiful thing to have one day, is to just keep buying up these lands and trying to find a way to have it ran by the community. Because right now we're at capacity. Like I said, we've expanded as much as we can, and we're hiring as much as we can, and we can only go so far.
Makes sense. So is your property protected? Does Urban Tilth own the land that it farms, or is that leased? How secure is your property?
I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it's a land grant, or it's
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because that was an issue when I was running community gardens. We actually lost several gardens because the land was sold out from under us. So back in the day, there was a community garden at the North Richmond Neighborhood House that the community center set up there. There's also a community garden organized by and run by the Southside Community. It's the Southside Community Center. Anyway, do you know whether those community gardens are still in operation?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Our community gardens, we have 2 on the Greenway Trail.
Okay.
And one in North Richmond called the Soul Garden. It's at the end of First Street. There, we have a school garden at Verde Elementary. We have a school garden at Richmond High.
Okay.
Yeah, that Greenway project won our award a couple years ago. It was really a great example of a collaboration with a bunch of different stakeholders coming together.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize, but to maintain it, you have to deal with a lot of other stuff, like a lot of illegal dumping, which we have to take on that responsibility, because the city doesn't have money for those type of services. So we're just always hauling away trash like every week, trying to make sure it's clean and looks nice for everybody to walk through.
So how can those of us that don't live in Richmond help besides donating money? Because I encourage everybody to donate. It's a great program. But are there ways for other people to get involved as helpers in the garden, or as trainers or mentors, or any of those kind of ways? I'm just curious.
Yeah, right now we're trying to hire more managers to meet our production levels. We're in the process of hiring one for our North Richmond farm and our Greenway, but we can definitely use like some expert experiences, like just people who've been doing it for several years.
Okay.
Because, like I said, it is a lot of young people. And like one of our managers actually passed away like a few months ago. So it's been difficult for us, but it's also left like a vacancy of because he just really knew like everything there was to know about plants and growing, and was really connected to it. So
okay. Are you tapped into the Master Gardener program, the UC Cooperative Extension Master Gardener program?
Is it Santa Clara or
No, there's an office in Pleasant Hill, I believe, that supports Alameda and Contra Costa County, but they train the master gardeners and they're volunteers that provide expertise. So it's something perhaps to look into. Second is, are you connected with John and Marion at the Rogers Ranch Urban Farm and Garden Project? Because they're very, very knowledgeable people, and I would hope that maybe they could interact with you guys, and even by Zoom in terms of sharing their expertise or giving classes or something like that. And we can send you information about them if you'd like.
Yeah, I would love that kind of information.
Okay, cool.
I'm trying to write it down, but if you can,
we'll send it. It's a lot easier. So let me get.
Doria knows who they are.
Okay, Doria probably knows, but she's a very busy woman, I know. Let me open it up to questions from others. Gotham, Tyler, the rest of our audience. Any questions for Marco?
Well, we did have a chat question about, do any of your clients have access to the backyards, basically the outdoor spaces at their own homes, to grow things at home? Are you involved at all in just backyard food growing?
No. Are you saying like to meet our production? Like, do we?
Well, or teaching them how to do it, but maybe also producing some things that could be donated.
Yeah, that would just require like extending our resources. We're trying to focus our resources more on our North Richmond farm. There's a lot of work to be done, and we're just trying to make sure we can, use all the rows that we have at our farm right now, and trying to make sure that it's all grown, because like a lot of our clients, they don't like own a garden. They don't know how. So we just try to make sure that, but we do have, like recently we've collaborated with Richmond Grows to create a seed library, a public seed library. And there's one at our North Richmond farm and one at our Greenway Gardens. And they have just seeds and everything you need to know about seed saving and growing them. So anyone can just stop by and pick them up if they're at the North Richmond farm. It's right outside our doors.
That's great. One of the things that I know has kind of happened out here in Central Contra Costa is that there are a lot of folks that own homes with backyards. They know how to garden. It's their hobby. They grow a lot of excess vegetables, number one, or they limit the size of their garden because they don't want a lot of excess vegetables. You only need like one zucchini plant, right? But they've got space for 5 or 6. And so linking those people that can or want to grow more food with programs like yours to where they become a source and a backyard grower source of food for your CSA program could help augment your supply of food.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Okay.
Just, right now, especially with COVID, we probably would want to limit how many people come to our farms because.
Yeah.
Oh, it would be a drop off. I mean, you'd have to do some things, but just conceptually, they could bring it, or an organization could go out and pick it up from their doorstep or something like that. Anyway, lots of things that we could do. Other questions from the audience?
No, you just stole my question, Mark. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Who was that speaking?
That was Ken Hayworth.
Oh, Ken, good.
Hayworth today. So there you go.
Okay. Well, Marco, listen, we commend you guys for your work. Urban Tilth is an amazing program. Again, a 2-time Leadership and Sustainability Award winner. And personally, you for your work and getting the message out about this fine work. I'll let you give the pitch for donations.
Yeah, anything helps.
Okay, where do we go?
Oh yeah, we're just grateful for anything that people give us. Like on our CSA runs, we get masks, we get cookies, we get all types of things, so.
And we will put that link up at the end for the website donations. It's urbantilth.org/donate, right, Marco?
Yeah.
Didn't you say there was also a kind of a volunteer event coming up?
Yeah, there's a Eventbrite registration on our Facebook page. You just type in Tilth.
Facebook, okay.
Yeah, it shouldn't be hard to
find. And what's that for?
For volunteering this Saturday, we have a maximum of 12 people who can come on our farms. But yeah, you just have to register through Eventbrite. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. this Saturday at the North Richmond Farm. You can meet our crew. They'll answer all your questions about growing more than I can. Yeah, we love having people over. We miss having volunteers at all of our events. So
yeah. Well, that'll change hopefully soon. So once again, congratulations. A round of applause for you and Urban Tilth. Right. Cool. Great. Well, shifting gears a little bit from urban farming to the hotel sector. And we have with us tonight Ken Hayworth, the owner of Aquamenities, a company that he founded to address a very important issue with respect to containers and container wastes and plastics and so forth. So Ken, tell us about Aquamenities and how it got started.
Well, initially, everybody, it was one of those things where I was in a job that I wasn't really excited about. And one of my clients within that industry was in hospitality, and they came to me and said, we're looking for a dispenser system to get rid of small bottle amenities in our luxury hotel. And we're looking for something that's elegant enough to go into a 4-star property. And I said, well, I can find you one. I will start looking, and basically went on the internet and looked for something that was elegant, and everything I found was made out of plastic. And usually more like a plastic bucket of goo. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with dispensers that you probably wouldn't want to use. And so I was a little discouraged, but went to bed one night and woke up in the middle of the night, and I drew out this design for this idea. I was so excited about it. I got up, I started cutting cardboard into little pieces. I destroyed my office. My office was actually in my home, and came up with an actual item. And my office manager, because I have one lady who's worked with me for like 15 years now, or 17 years now. She said, what's all this? You know, aren't we doing furniture anymore? And I said, no, I think I have a really good idea. And so I went to the client with my cardboard piece and cut out and little bottles in it, or bigger bottles in it, full-size bottles, and said, this is it. And they went, we don't get it. It's cardboard. And I said, no, it's going to be stainless steel, and the bottles are going to be recyclable, and we're going to have stainless steel. Well, they said, well, come back and, you know, show me what you got. So I've been very blessed. I mentioned the one lady's been with me now for 17 years. And I went to a fabricator and I said, hey, I need to fabricate this great idea I have. And he said, before you do anything, I want you to get a patent. And so I went, oh, okay. So I went and figured out how to launch a patent, and came back to him and I said, well, I have a preliminary patent, and can we make this? And so we started working on it, and we made one. And I took that one unit back to my client and said, this is the idea. Remember the cardboard thing? This is what I'm looking at. And they went, oh my God, we love this. We need 416 of them, and we need it in 2 months. And I went, great, give me a 50% deposit and I'll make that happen. So I took my deposit, and I took my little product and went back to my fabricator and said, I need 416 of these in 2 months. And he goes, okay, it took me 2 months to make one. There's no chance of me making 416 of them. And I said, well, who do you know? I mean, do you know people? You're a fabricator. He goes, well, I can get a bunch of fabricators together. So we ended up getting a bunch of fabricators together. We delivered the 416 units in 2 months to that hotel. It was the Sir Francis Drake Hotel in San Francisco.
Wow.
Those units, that was 10 years ago. Those units are still in service today.
Wow.
Great.
From that point, I said, I know this is a great idea. I did everything I could possibly do to get hotels to switch. But as you know, dispensers had a connotation of ew. So I just kept going. I said, this is going to save you money. It's going to save the planet. if we can put in products that the guests like. So I started working with brands like Paul Mitchell and Method and all these high-end brands that people would recognize to put into our fixtures, and went back to those same hotels. And I said, you can get this brand, save your hotel money, and the guests love it. One of our bigger clients in the first year and a half was Four Seasons.
Wow.
That was a phone call, and they said, hey, we're going to be at this event. And I said, no, I'm going to fly up to Toronto and meet you people. And they love the product. And so we're in 32 countries with Four Seasons. We're in room, in spa, or in common area in those hotels. And that gave us a little bit of cachet to build the company from. And so with that cachet, we kept going. And it was slow going for probably 5 years, just making enough to barely survive. My wife is writing something here. What did you write?
This just in.
Okay, so yeah, this just in. So I'm still telling the story, so we'll get into the savings part, but I've got to love her. So anyway. So we started building on this, and we, in the first 5 years, I think we had probably, 50 or 60 hotels with maybe a total of 50,000 rooms, if that. No, it had to be less than that. So maybe 500 rooms. But I kept going, this makes sense. It makes sense. And so I started going towards big corporations like IHG, Intercontinental Hotel Group, Marriott, Wyndham, you name it. All the big ones is where I was trying to get it in. And funny, Disney actually approached us. And Disney out of Florida saw one of our fixtures at one of the small hotels that we had done, and said, can you do this for Disney? And I said, of course. I mean, I don't know if we can, but we can. And so Disney at this point has done every room in Disney World. And last year we saved them just under 3.8 million bottles from Disney hotels alone. And they have kept with us. This year we're going to actually expand. We're going to be doing Hong Kong, and COVID has been pretty tough on hospitality. But when you have a product that saves the planet and saves the hotel money, it's kind of an easy transition for them. Another cool thing that this has done for us is it has allowed us to start donating to groups like Lava May. And if you guys know Lava May, they are the bus group that does buses for the homeless and showers for the homeless. And they're big buses. There's I think 5 or 6 in San Francisco. I know that there's 5 or 6 in LA and 2 or 3, I think, in San Diego. So we supply all of their product. We supply their fixtures, bottles, pumps, whatever they need. And as they expand, they want to start doing it in other cities around the country. One thing that the homeless can't get is generally a place to shower. So that's been great for us. I'm kind of in awe of the things that Shoshana and Marco are doing. It's beyond the scope of what we do. But we're making every effort to get hotels to move to a more sustainable future for us all. Hyatt Corporation just launched for their Regency program. Intercontinental is doing Candlewood Suites, Staybridge Suites, Holiday Inn Express, Holiday Inn, and Even Hotels. All of those will all be changed, and they will be changing all of their hotels by 2021. So at the end of 2021, every Intercontinental hotel will now have a amenity dispenser of some kind, hopefully mine, but right now mostly mine, so that's good.
There's an implied competition there.
There is some implied competition. We've been lucky because our fixture is a little more elegant than what has been proven on the market, but there are some people coming up that you know, and we expected that, even some similarities to our patented product, which basically, if any of you have had a patent, my patent attorney said, just be first and be best, and you know, and keep pushing, because someone's going to come and knock it off. And so that's happening a little bit, but you know, like he said, we can focus on going after those folks, or we can focus on building a company that people want to work with.
Well, that makes sense. Well, and I would imagine a quality product that you put in doesn't need to be replaced every year. So it's got a foothold in the hotel for years. So the competition is in effect locked out by the durability of your product, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we've only had in the 450,000 fixtures we have in the marketplace right now, we've only actually had 11 units broken.
Wow.
So they don't break. So the problem with that is they don't break. So I only get the one-time sale, but I continue to sell the bottles and stuff. And we're starting to put together recycling programs for our bottles for some of the hotels. It's a little tougher because the bottles have soaps and shampoos and stuff, and a lot of times it's dirty plastic. But our bottles are lasting on average 3.5 years.
Wow.
And so the savings continues with that. And I don't know if we mentioned it in the last thing, but there's a new law out, AB 1162, that just went through in the state of California. And what that does is every hotel with 50 rooms or more in the state of California will have to have some form of bulk amenity or dispenser system.
Oh, good.
And so that's by 2023. They do have a fine program that is going to be put out there. But what we found with the Hotel Council, California Hotel Council, and now the American Hotel Council, is they're embracing the idea. What they weren't embracing was the idea of the ugly bucket, is what we like to call it. They wanted something that was going to be a little more elegant, that their customers could understand. I'm guessing that most of you guys have been hotels, and most of you probably have 20 or 30 small bottle amenities that you save in the hotel under a counter.
Right over there in the drawer.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ken, I've got that. Do you want to show that video that you?
I'd love to show that video. Yeah.
All right. Let's go for it. It's a good one.
Last year, U.S. hotels alone used over 10 billion amenity bottles. That's enough to stretch around the Earth over 20 times. Fill more than 2,300 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Or pack 65,000 hotel rooms, floor to ceiling. Just one Aquamenities fixture takes over 1,000 bottles per room out of that equation. Imagine the power of thousands.
Great. You know, from a business point of view, Ken, you didn't negotiate like 1% of the savings as a kickback royalty to the company?
No, it would have been nice. It would have been nice. It's funny. There's a company called what's the company? Clean the World out there, and they basically take the small bottle amenities, they repurpose them, they turn the product into soap, and they ship it to third world countries for those people who don't have soap. But that all sounds good, but the carbon footprint to take it from a small bottle amenity design to a third world country is huge. And the money that these hotels are saving by going to a dispenser type system, within a year could build a soap factory in those third world countries and have those people run it. So especially with IHG with their projects and Disney with their projects, those are huge savings to them. In some cases, as much as like 32 cents a bottle. So maybe like even a 28% savings per room. Wow. on amenities. And so they're starting to do a lot more of that. They're actually working with some of the money that they're saving to build into their sustainable programs, like light bulbs and those kind of things, different types of washing machines and things. So it's expanding. It's funny. I think all of you guys know, if you can just start a seed, there's a lot of different ways that it can grow. And so we're hoping that we're doing our part to make that happen. So,
the legislation that just passed, I think, is a very important signal to the market. It's one thing for the hotels to buy in voluntarily, but that's an investment on their part. They're taking a chance. But to have a regulation that just basically levels the playing field and just said, look, all of you need to do it. Everybody's got to make an investment, and that's just the new standard. Boom. It seems like the Hotel Association, as you mentioned, is going along with that and peaceably, right? Not resisting. That's important.
Yeah,
Good.
I'd say we're changing a social norm. It's the norm is getting their small bottles, and right. I think it's what we're all trying to do is change what has been for something that's better.
So does that at all impact the single use or the single person bars of soap? Because that always bugged me, that I've got to open one up, I use it for a shower or two, and at 99% there, and sometimes I take them home, but then I end up with a whole stack of little soaps, and typically they're thrown away, or housekeeping comes in and says, oh, well, he's not using it and throws it away.
But I think one of Ken's bottles is meant to hold body wash, right?
Right. That's kind of where I'm going with my question is,
right.
Are you finding that hotels are in effect replacing the bar soap with body wash and eliminating that whole thing?
And we do hand wash and lotion fixtures at the counter at the vanity. And so they are moving away from that. Bar soaps have changed a little bit. They're getting smaller. Mm-hmm. So they're, in a lot of cases, single use. There's a lot of competition in that market because some people like to use a bar soap. The problem is they use it once and it either gets tossed.
Right.
They're creating bar soaps that are hollow in the center, so it's just an oval shape that generally will be used, and it might make it to two or three uses, but by that time it'll dissipate. There are a lot more hotels though that are just getting rid of the bar soap in the shower and utilizing a fixture like ours.
What about shower heads? One of the things, I've done some traveling before the virus hit, and it just blows me away the amount of water that's wasted from the big shower heads that just pour out water. I don't know. Do you know whether there's a current, I know this is out of your field of expertise, but if there's a current standard for water usage in those showers? I mean, you're right there in a shower.
Right. They are supposed to be utilizing low flow showers.
Yeah.
Any new builds are going to be doing that. One of the benefits of our fixture, and there was a study, and I didn't do this study, but there is a study that basically when you use something that's on the wall, it takes you less time than it does to open up the bottle and put it in your hand and put it back. And so you're actually using less water. It's a little obscure. I'm not gonna say it's how much time. I might spend more time in the shower if I know I can have more soap. So who knows?
Right. That's interesting. Well, the key to taking a longer shower is just getting a low flow shower head, because it's not about the time. I made this pitch at a presentation where people were saying, we've got these little shower timers. I said, no. I'm not worried about the time. I'm looking at the gallons. And if I can take 5 gallons and stretch it out over 20 minutes, I'm going to take a 20-minute shower. It's a lot more fun.
Right.
So where are you going with your business? Obviously you're expanding, it's growing internationally and so forth.
Yeah, I was going to say, so COVID has taken its toll. Last year was great, but there is a lot of hope in the marketplace. So hotels are starting to build again. They see that this is hopefully temporary. Disney obviously is opening. They're trying to open in California, I just saw recently. I think Disney Hong Kong is open. But you know, we do a lot of cruise liners, so we do Royal Caribbean and those guys, and they're hurting quite a bit. We have big projects that we're just storing for them right now, but we see the hope. So I think that it's crazy time, right? We're all in a crazy time. It's a crazy political situation. It's a crazy financial situation, and certainly the economies are just ridiculous. So, but we're creating new product from our end. We're looking at minimizing the amount of stainless steel that we use. We're looking at changing the volumes of our bottles to hold more product to last longer without being changed. We're limiting the touch points of our fixtures and what those refills are, because all of our fixtures are refillable. The cool part about our fixture, though, is each fixture comes with 2 sets of bottles with pumps. So in our unit, nothing gets filled in the room. It's a simple exchange of bottles. They all have view windows in the lower third. Tells housekeeping when it's time to pop out that bottle and pop in a new one, take the old one back down to housekeeping where it's cleaned and filled and put there, and then put on their cart for the next day or probably 10 to 15 days later.
Great.
So a little bit different that way. And so we've been able to expand on that market with our clients, and we see that as a lot of new opportunity.
So if I was conducting a valuation interview, I'd end by saying, so what's your exit strategy? Are you going to sell to Procter & Gamble or?
Well, we're looking at different options. We may sell, if we do sell, I've got 4 kids, so we'll see how invested they are in doing that. It seems like they're not. So it might be my lab, Labrador Retriever, in case you mentioned.
Okay.
My Labrador Retriever may take over, but so yeah. Right now we're pretty happy. You know, we're just going to keep going.
Well, you've got a patent and you've got a client base, and that's worth a lot. So congratulations. You've done you've creatively addressed a pressing issue and turned it into a real business, and that's a laudable endeavor, because a lot of us have ideas, but it's hard to take them from the idea stage to the innovative stage and to a product and then into the market. So right on.
Well, the goal is to just keep going, man. If you have an idea, there's one person told me, while you're thinking of your idea, somebody else is thinking of the same exact idea, and the is the guy who takes it to market. So I don't know how much of an entrepreneur I am, but for that one statement that somebody told me, I just said, I'm just going to keep going. So, well,
I invented the iPod, and unfortunately, I didn't take it to market, but I was right at the cusp, and I had written actually a paper about the concept, and little did I know that Apple was developing it. But I thought, oh, gee, well, at least I had a creative idea by combining, technologies and everything else. But that's a whole other story. So
I created the internet. I don't know if you knew that.
That was you.
You and Al Gore, right? Okay.
Yeah.
You and Al, right on. Well, listen, again, congratulations. Round of applause. Everybody, when you go to a hotel and you see Ken's product from Aquamenities, thank the hotel for taking a stand to cut down waste.
And if you don't, please go tell them about it.
Right. Exactly. There you go. Right. How come you don't have an Aquamenities dispenser?
Right,
that's a very good comment. All right. Thanks, Ken. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, our next guest for the evening, it's been a long time coming in terms of his career, but he truly deserves a Lifetime Achievement Award. And I mean, Manuel Alonso, currently the executive director of Earth Team, but someone who's been involved in all sorts of endeavors in the environment, youth, and so forth for over 25 years. Welcome, Manuel, wherever you are on the screen. Thank you for joining us. Congratulations. And how's it going?
Unmute.
There you go.
Useful thing that the host says, get your video on, because I haven't got
Just a gentle reminder, Manuel.
I have lost the window behind all these grant proposals. Yeah.
Well, to comment, I'm on the board of Earth Team, and Manuel is a grant writing genius, and I know that he has done amazing work at Earth Team over the last couple of years, and that was, his current gig, and gets in recognition in our area. So, as we could get a profile of Earth Team on their website and a background on Manuel on our website, but right now, where are things in terms? Earth Team is a youth program in the eastern part of the county. In the western part of the county. How is it going in terms of the COVID crisis and pivoting from in-person serving of youth to online and so forth? Give us a sense of where that's at.
Well, we're trying to get out of the Zoom thing, and we are inventing things like micro teams or guided walks through FaceTime guidance, and we're beginning to just try to, because funders and people supporting our program just don't want to fund more virtual stuff.
Well, I hope that works out. That's I know Earth Team has an excellent reputation, to the point that you've won several, not just one, but several national level grants. Tell us about the kind of programs that the federal agencies have funded.
Well, everybody's funding the same program. I mean, it's the internship program, right? So,
but I mean, the subsets. Well, I guess that's true. But the subsets. I mean, particularly the NSF grant.
The two major subsets are air and water. So one is the Sustainable Watershed Action Teams, or SWAT teams, and then the other is the CETA, Something is in the Air, which is climate change oriented and air quality and all that. So those are the two main programs, and then everything works under the GLOBE protocol, NSF funded, trying to find ways to improve the model and to assess what elements of our program are so successful because they would like to replicate that.
And so background, that was a 3-year grant, during which there would be research on the actual engagement of and support of the student interns, and looking at best practices. And so I've learned a lot being on the board in terms of how Earth Team approaches youth. Just share a few insights into those strategies, because I know it's not all about 100% about the delivery of facts and information.
No, it's not. In fact, it's about connection, mentorship. The mentorship approach and the positive youth development focus, like the belief that youth are agents of their own development. Like you can, it's easier, as a famous Professor Larson, that is an expert in this field of positive youth development, says, it's easier to think about molding clay than letting clay mold itself. So that's the whole approach. We just provide some scaffolding, some guidance and direction. There's a lot of talk about empowering youth, but that's kind of vague. What empowering exactly means? We're trying to say, this is the tools you have to work with. This is an issue we would like you guys to address, climate change. Okay, get to it. And then the teams start, learning at their own pace and getting facts and all that, and then doing service learning and campaigns on campus and off campus and so forth. But we let them lead that whole thing. It's about youth leadership and so forth.
Well, I remember Jenna, one of the staff persons, pointed out that early on, quite a few of the early sessions, the weekly Earth Team meetings, were more about group formation and comfort and the social and emotional development of the youth, and then gradually introducing information, more the curriculum. Any comments on that whole experience?
Yeah, definitely. There's no point in just showering information on a group of people that you don't even know. I think we're finding, that these, groups, individuals have trauma, family situations. They have to deal with competing motivation for their attention. They're not like ready to receive anything. They just put the hoodie on and look down, and You got to go over that whole thing. And that's about relationship and building and team. And yeah, you mentioned social emotional factors. That's the big research component we're trying to figure out. How do you really engage that intrinsic motivation system when that system is surrounded by so many challenges?
Well, I know that the staff of Earth Team has been tremendously successful in doing this, got an excellent reputation. And I know that one of the strategies that you implemented was to get involved with AmeriCorps volunteers. Tell us a little bit about the relationship between AmeriCorps and Earth Team.
Yeah, that was 3 years ago we started, and he provides this concept of the least employee, and they are very motivated young, which is important because they're closer to the age group of high school students. Very motivated young people, recent graduates in environmental sciences that want to gain experience. They want to just start opening doors, and they're willing to work for $25,000 a year as a stipend in conditions that provide tons of professional development, tons of opportunity. So it's a great combination, because then we are able to scale up and down our program based on the need and the demand by hiring more or less fellows each year.
And so I know that our relationship with AmeriCorps has been so successful that one of the AmeriCorps volunteers is stepping into a top administrative position, meaning Joelle.
Yeah, Joelle started as an AmeriCorps 2 years ago, which seems like eons ago, but it was just years ago. And she's currently the program director, and she's doing a great job. And we had other intern this year, Charlie Chesney, which was like amazing. She's now doing a PhD in Santa Cruz in Bitcoin and blockchain and environmental projects. And I mean, you just run into these great people.
I know Charlie, who has been working with Earth Team, has now joined me with the Bay Area Climate Action Mapping Project. Yeah. And together we are supporting the formation of Drawdown Bay Area with Leslie Alden. So we've kind of stolen some of Charlie's time and effort, but she's an amazing person. So is Joelle, and so are the other AmeriCorps people.
Yeah, they're all great people. I mean, sometimes you run into the exception, but for the most part, we're happy.
So what got you involved with environmental stuff? I know your background, you're an archaeologist.
Anthropology and archaeology.
Anthropologist, okay. Yeah. And you've got a PhD in one of those or both of those?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, both, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to find a job as an anthropologist. And one of the fields, I mean, I was teaching for a while, and that was great, and but life circumstances, I had to change that, and I had to leave the university. And then the only field that is rural development. That's a field where anthropologists can actually have something to say in terms of conservation and ethnobotany, and fields where traditional societies and their knowledge can be applied to modern conservation things. So it was from that perspective that I started entering development projects in rural areas and running into traditional societies and the conflicts between conservationists and traditional people, and how to address, the fact that some of the areas that are more valuable in terms of biodiversity tend to be also occupied by, rural populations. So how do you put those together? That is the.
So how did you end up in Costa Rica? Because I know your background, you're Spanish, correct?
Yeah, I'm from Spain. We ended up there in Costa Rica. I knew some people, and I had some possibilities of teaching there. So we were visiting, and then we traveled around and found that this area down south had these numerous projects trying to correct some big logging issues, and they were not successful. And then I just got invited to go to some meetings, and then I decided to, start my own foundation and get some help from the outside to fund this effort. And that's the way I ended up there for 10, 12 years.
Well, and with a quite impressive results out of that. Tell us what you accomplished. It's the Tuva Foundation. Is that an acronym?
Yeah, that is in Spanish. I'll say it in English. That's United Lands of Neighbors for the Environment.
Okay.
Because I believe change happens at the neighborhood level. I think that smaller and bigger is kind of, but at that level, I think is when you kind of effect some more immediate change. And so that was just a bunch of landowners. This was an example of what concept of working landscapes is. And I think you guys know all about that. And the fact that biodiversity conservation is not going to work unless the landscapes are economically viable. And they have basically this concept of working. So in the American West is the rangeland, is the ranches, is all these lands that actually we depend on that can support sustainable local communities. And there in Costa Rica, there was this need to create an innovation that was economically viable for the local people and indigenous people living in these protected areas, that the day the protected areas were declared, they immediately illegal. Like that happens in all South America and Central America. A new park, great, conservationists are happy, except that there is 20,000 people living there. And then you just suddenly need to make, okay, how are we gonna make a living? I cannot cut a tree, I cannot do anything here. So that was the entire effort, was this creating an alliance between landowners, agencies, international organizations to build this working buffer zone. And we just run some projects where we're natural forest management, whatever, so people could make a living while conserving the environment.
Interesting. Wow. And so my understanding is that through the foundation, you were able to preserve 2 million acres of rainforest in Costa Rica?
No, not 2 million. It was a buffer zone around Corcovado National Park. Corcovado National Park, probably you guys have visited it. According to National Geographic, is the most biologically diverse place on Earth.
Wow.
And that's a 150,000 acre park.
Oh, okay.
And,
cool.
And the park was choking gold miners, loggers. It's an Amazon type of situation, right? So then we build this buffer zone around the park. It was about 40,000 acres. That provided the people living and the edges of the park with a livelihood, so they would, kind of create that buffer that was going to help with the conservation of the park.
Interesting strategy. Wow. Quite a transition to working in the East Bay with youth.
Well, that was pretty natural because we got a lot. We had a research station that's still there, invite people to visit if they want. And we got lots of high school students visiting. And every time they came, they would say, oh, I want to stay here. This is paradise, monkeys and the scarlet macaws and whales and the whole works, right? I want to stay. And we used to talk about it like, well, maybe the things that happening at your home, where are you from? Oakland. Okay, anything happening in Oakland is affecting what's happening here because this is a global phenomenon. How about going back to Oakland and getting involved there? Oh, well, why don't you do the same? They would tell me, right? So I guess I ended up walking my talk and coming back.
That's great. Well, certainly you didn't tell them about the snakes. You shared with me the stories about the Costa Rican snakes. We don't want those stories to get out too far. That's for sure.
No. There are a lot of stories about that. Yes.
Great. Let me open it up to questions. I know at some point we've had some questions. Gotham, did you have some questions this evening?
Yeah, I actually had a question for Ken previously.
Okay. Before we get into Ken, anybody else have questions for Manuel?
I was just curious, Manuel, working with youth these days, you hear this term climate despair, and we have kids who are seeing the facts right now in front of them. The heat waves are here, the fires are here.
Yeah.
What is your strategy, or what is your feeling about the sort of psycho-spiritual aspect of this work with kids who are looking at their future and wondering what it's going to be like? How do you keep them focused on positive change?
That's a great question. I think that's really the whole sense of the enormity of the problem. And But I think, I mean, one conversation that it's happening a lot with these young people is like, there are some problems in society, unemployment, you know, we don't ask individuals to be the ones sacrificing to fix these problems. It's the government that needs to fix these things. So I think there has been a lot of kind of pushing the problem to us people. And I think it's great to save water and all these things as an individual, but that's not going to really make much of an impact for this enormous problem. So I think that young people they find that advocacy and demanding that the governments get involved and that the citizens really, you know, talk to their political and institutions for urgent action. So I think that is really, I think, what gets them a little bit out of this, like, what I'm gonna do, just me. And we say, you're right. I mean, that's not the way to go, because this is not something that we need to solve as individuals. We need to have our governments declare climate crisis an emergency, and we need to demand that they deal with it now, because there is no other way. So I think that gets them a little more of a, oh, okay, I get it. It's just not about, I'm not guilty. It's not about me, right? And I think that's a good way to go. And I think that one of my big idols in climate change is Professor Anders Leverman. He works in the Potsdam Center for Climate Impact Research in South Berlin. I mean, I think he knows more than anyone else in the world about climate systems. He's professor of dynamics of the climate system. And he takes this approach as well, you know, like, let's just get clear that governments need to fix this thing. And we will help as individuals, but they need to fix it.
But you're sort of creating, you're ushering them into a role as an activist as well. As an educator.
It's not an activist, because we're not an advocacy organization. It's that young people, I think they have a point, that this is not that I need to solve as an individual. What about my government? Why they're not doing anything? That's what they're asking. So I think what you're saying, yeah, well, you're right. That's a great point. And figure it out. I mean, how you're gonna then affect change in the future if you take that road. If you wanna become an activist, or you wanna become involved in your local government. I mean, actually our students go to city councils and present often as part of their program. And they always telling them the same thing. Okay, you guys need to up your act here. And this is we need change at a big scale. And so, but yeah, great question. I think
that's good. No, thank you.
Yeah. Can I, Ken Hayworth, what is the age group of the students that you guys are working with?
High school, 14, 17.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I will definitely talk to my daughter about that. It sounds like a great program, and I know that she's interested in helping to save the planet. Actually, my son just graduated University of Texas in sustainability studies, and so he's down in San Diego right now looking for options down there. So
yeah. Well, also we saw Chloe, another award winner this cohort, right, the other day. That's the kind of amazing people that we see all the time at the Earth Team, and I'm a big fan of that generation and their commitment.
And so one of the things that Earth Team, one of its missions is to tee these young people up for careers in environmental fields. Certainly they need to go to college. There's an encouragement to go to college, but in perhaps a more environmentally appropriate field. And when they come out, they're the kind of folks, whether it's marketing or research or biology, whatever, and perhaps working for a company like Aquamenities, right? With a key message about recycling, and they'll know about recycling because they worked in recycling at Earth Team. That's the kind of pathway from school to career that we'd like to see. So,
yep.
Very cool. Other questions from the group? Nope. Well,
Gotham, if you want to ask your question.
Oh yeah, that's.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
This is a question for Ken, real quick. Is it easy for you to source out the biodegradable materials that you use for the soap dispensers?
Well, stainless steel, they don't make any more of it. So most stainless steel is already biodegradable. With the plastics that we're using, we're actually not, they are recyclable. They're not recycled. We are looking into post-consumer plastics. The one challenge we have with our fixture, and I mentioned a little bit about it, is that view window. And when you start getting into post-consumer plastics, they are a mix of different colors. And so they're never really clear. And so it takes away from that part of the message. What we've been doing is looking at expanding our view windows to just get rid of some of that challenge so we can actually start using more post-consumer product. As far as sourcing, there are several US bottle companies that will provide those products. The price point's higher, and what we need to do is figure out a way to drive those price points down so that the virgin plastics are at least on par with the post-consumer ones. So that's kind of what we're
Thank you so much, Ken. Thank you.
Cool. Well, back to Manuel. Round of applause for Manuel. Literally a lifetime of service. Thank you very much for all your efforts and all the lives that you've touched and all the great things that you've done. And again, congratulations to the rest of you, Shoshana and Ken and Urban Tilth through Marco. And thank you all for joining us this evening. I'd like to pass the baton now to Tyler for our sustainability tip of the month.
Yes, we have our sustainability tip of the month, and we are tracking our tip of the month along with our awesome youth group, which Gotham is part of, Sustainable Leaders in Action, and they made a cute little video. So I thought, what the heck, this is a perfect way to share the action. So here it is. So there's our awesome little video. And yeah, we are focusing on that tip this month, eating lower down on the carbon chain. As we have seen, meat has a high footprint, especially beef and lamb. So think about replacing one or more meals a week. Look at different protein sources that are not animal-based, and definitely visit a farmer's market, a great way to get fresh local produce. There's a really good website called meatlessmonday.com. Shout out to the Caseys who have promoted that and have their Rossmore group going. Tons of recipes, ideas. They have a wonderful newsletter. They're kind of a relaxed vibe too. You know, sometimes the plant-based folks can be a little evangelical, shall we say. And I do think that meatlessmondays.com strikes a nice balance between encouraging you and not preaching at you. There's also a really nice farmers market finder on that ecology website, ecology center website that we list there. But as always, these actions are actions that come from the Cleaner Contra Costa Challenge, a free platform that we can hook you into if you aren't already, to track your household climate change actions, earn points, save money, and get a ton of local resources that you may not realize to help you with all of these actions. Colleen may say a little bit more about that when she does our upcoming events. But that's your tip of the month.
Great. Thank you, Tyler. Yeah, make sure to sign up at cleanercontracosta.org. So, Colleen Noland is our community coordinator. And are you here, Colleen? I assume you are.
Yes.
There you go.
So Although summer has ended, we still have a lot of really exciting events coming up. The first is that on October 1st, we will be starting our Fall Winter Cleaner Contra Costa Challenge. And as Tyler mentioned, I would highly encourage you to just go check it out. Signing up takes 30 seconds. And then if you want to put in some information about how much energy you currently use, it takes about 5 minutes. That will be starting on October 1st, and we will have a number of great prizes you can earn, or you can create a friendly competition with others. We will also be celebrating California Clean Air Day with Clean Air Week event during the week of October 1st. We have an event, Antioch Clean Air Celebration, happening on the 3rd, but it's open to all Contra Costa residents. So if you're interested, you can join us to learn more about challenge actions you can take that impact air quality. Finally, our next episode of Sustainability Live will be on October 28th at 7 p.m. And we will be honoring our Rising Star Award winner, Chloe DeSmet, and also 4 amazing finalists that are also doing great work in their communities. You can find it all at sustainablecocoa.org. You can reach out to us at info@sustainablecocoa.org or sign up for the challenge at cleanercontracosta.org.
Thanks, Colleen. Cool. And I just want to show quick contact info for our guests. This will also be in the description text of the YouTube video if you're not able to grab it off of the screen right here. But you can reach out to all of them. That wonderful newsletter action update that Shoshana was talking about is available on the Sunflower Alliance website there. And you've got contact for Ken and Aquamenities, Urban Tilth, including their social media pages, the Facebook pages where you can find out about that Saturday volunteering in the garden event, and Manuel's contact also at Earth Team. So thank you so much to all of our guests. And here's how you can find us. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, other good things like that. And we do welcome your questions at info@ and our domain name. The YouTube video should be up by tomorrow if you want to direct your friends to check it out, if you were inspired by any of this work and you want to share it. And don't forget to sign up for the challenge.
Thank you, Tyler. And for our credits, Colleen, you want to read our credits for this evening?
Of course. This has been Sustainability Live, a production of Sustainable Contra Costa, presented as part of our community education and outreach program. Our goals for this show are to provide you with useful and timely information about all aspects of living sustainably, guided by the 10 One Planet Living principles, and to provide an online community for sharing information and learning together. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Central SAN, Mount Diablo Resource Recovery, Contra Costa Green Business Program, MCE, the cities of Antioch, Pittsburgh, Martinez, Pleasant Hill, and Walnut Creek, Republic Services, Contra Costa Water District, Eco Mulch, Recycle Smart, and finally, Contra Costa Center Transit Village. I'd also like to thank tonight's volunteer crew, producer Gotham Sathasan, director and host Mark Westwind, and technical director Tyler Snordham Phelps. For more information about One Planet Living and all of Sustainable Contra Costa's programs, activities, and special events, please visit our website at sustainablecocoa.org. And your support is always welcome. You can also make a donation on our website.
Thank you, Colleen. And once again, thank you all for our guests for this evening, and thank you all for attending. And we will see you next time.
Thanks.
Good night.